Okay, thank you very much. I know that just before lunch everybody will be looking at their watches rather, but we will keep a close eye on the time. Okay, alternative sources of water, the Cyprus experience. Unfortunately, Cyprus has not been proactive with regards to preparing for sustainable use of water, even though we know about the water scarcity in Cyprus and the fact that this is getting worse with climate change. I'm going to talk about the experience in Cyprus, just a map to show how across the Mediterranean Sea we are, Cyprus and Seville. Cyprus has a serious water scarcity. It has very low amounts of annual freshwater resources and a high use of water, especially in the years of 10 years ago, before joining the European Union, where agriculture was at its peak. Now agriculture is getting less and less because of the global competition of the prices of products, and in a way it's changing the pattern of water use in Cyprus. Climate change is further negatively impacting the water resources in Cyprus, and it's becoming obvious every winter. We have built huge dams in Cyprus during the last 20 to 30 years. Most of the years they remain barely half full, with the exception of this year and last year where they're really overflowing. But that's not an indication, rather it's an indication of how climate change is giving us unpredictable weather conditions. So we have reached a stage where there is increasing competition of water between the sectors, drinking water and agriculture, industry and tourism. And this has led to us trying to find alternative sources of water, and this is what I'm going to talk about now. Just to give you a brief overview, these are information dated 2011. With regards to the sources of water, about 50% comes from dams, 9% from aquifers, which have been exhausted over the years with overpumping. 37% comes from desalination, which is very expensive. We will talk about it later on. And about 4% comes from tertiary treated effluent. Now, with regards to how we use the water, domestic use is now at 61% and irrigation at 35%. 10 years ago, this pie chart would have been the other way around. We try, whenever it's a good winter, to recharge some of the aquifers, and now we're even recharging them with tertiary treated water and some other uses. Pie charts now comparing the sources of agricultural water. Where do we get our water for irrigation? We get it from dams, but also from treated water, which is on the rise, as we will see further down, and some from aquifers. There is a new legislation now trying to control the pumping of water from the aquifers because of this overpumping and deterioration of the quality of the water. When it comes to where do we get our domestic water, the drinking water, we get most of it from desalination. And we will see further down that the aim of the government of Cyprus is to have 100% desalination as a source of the drinking water. We still get water from dams, treating them, and very, very little from aquifers. Now, I will speak about tertiary treated effluent, desalination, and harvesting rainwater in a on a small scale. My background is treated water, so maybe I will speak a little bit more about tertiary treated effluent. In the picture, you can see the wastewater treatment plant in the middle. Let me see how this works, if it does. No, okay. You cannot see the treatment plant because of the oxidation ponds. Okay, all right. It's this, but I have to press it a bit more. Okay, this is the treatment plant. These are two huge storage ponds for storing the water in the winter time to be used for the summer. And right next to it is a desalination plant. Even though it's quite conflicting to have these two extreme sources of water next to each other, it so happened and it works. Now, joining the European Union in 2004, I think, 2003, has forced us into expanding our urban wastewater treatment. And as you can see, all the little spots in Cyprus, it's the small and bigger wastewater treatment plants that are to be completed in the next few years. We have this is just the capacity of the wastewater treatment plants starting from today going up to the year 2025. As I showed earlier, about 12% of the water used in agriculture has as a source treated effluent. This is the situation today. And if we go according to plan, a plan which is supposed to satisfy the directive as to treating water rather than polluting groundwater and the coastal waters, we will also have the dual positive effect of having up to 38% our irrigation water coming from treated effluent. I think that will be a real achievement. Again, with last year's statistics, what we do with the treated effluent is, for the majority of it, we use it for irrigating fodder crops. It's safer, and it also helps to go over the psychological barrier of using treated effluent more directly in irrigating vegetables and fruit. And since there are animal feed are in need, because Cyprus is also importing animal food for the crops, then it's a good use to put it into. 4% goes into recharging a dam, not a very good quality dam, but a dam that needs water of any quality. Some of it, unfortunately, and this is what we are fighting to bring down to zero, goes to the sea, because the irrigation network has not been completed yet. And there is also some aquifer recharge, especially in the Paphos region. Some pictures of the irrigation of clover leaves and of cornfields. And this is a map showing the extent of an irrigation network which is dedicated to tertiary treated water. So the city of Larnaca has its usual water distribution network, but on top of that it has another network that distributes water back to fields and green areas and a lot of the hotel gardens. Very quickly, I will go through an exercise that we did in Larnaca, where we recorded exactly the distribution of our water, how it is used, because in Larnaca we also have a lot of municipal gardens and a lot of hotel gardens, so part of it goes there, and also some football fields which encourage winter tourism in Cyprus in a way, sport tourism, because a lot of football teams come to Cyprus during the winter to practice. So this is the actual distribution of our treated water in Larnaca. We found out that we offered farmers in the area a huge benefit because they could produce silage, which is the dried food for animal, just with 50 euros per ton, whereas the cost of importing silage is 180 euros per ton. And it's not magical, it's just because the government is still subsidizing the price of treated water only for a few more years, just to encourage the use of treated effluent. So by offering them the water produced locally in the Larnaca sewage treatment plant, just a few farmers, maybe 10 or 20 farmers, managed to save 1.5 million It was not easily appreciated by the central government, but at the beginning. But I believe that with our efforts, we are nearly persuading them that it's worth pursuing it. Just to give an indication of the selling price of different treated effluent water, depending on the use, the government has decided that if somebody is using it for agriculture, then he can get a bigger subsidy and just pay 5 cents per cubic meter. But if he is using it to irrigate golf courses, and then it means that he is not a farmer, but an investor of some kind, then he has to pay 21 cents per cubic meter. But still, all of that is subsidized because the real cost of water is much higher. To treat sewage water to the tertiary level can cost between 40 cents and €1 per cubic meter, because in Cyprus we don't have the economy of scale. Usually treatment plants are rather small, and now we are all moving to this high technology with reverse osmosis and membranes, so the cost is quite high. Okay, compared to desalination, which is something that we will speak later on, treated effluent has quite some positive environmental credits. One, because we do not discharge to the sea anymore since we found a use for it. Secondly, it is rather relatively low in energy consumption compared to desalination. And because there is plenty of water in the area, then we see green belts increasing around the wastewater treatment plants. But it's important to make sure that you don't spend a lot of money in transporting this water to long distances to customers who are very far away, because then you add a lot of energy cost to that. And also, from some of the experiments that we have been doing, we found out that crop production is much better than using ordinary water because of some nutrients which are left in the treated effluent. Okay, a little bit about desalination water. As a member of the Green Party in Cyprus, I was very much against desalination for many years, and I fought very strongly against it. But there came a time when Cyprus had to import water in boats, and the cost was kind of in the order of 10 euros per cubic meter, with a lot of waste, and therefore maybe where we are now, desalination is a must, as long as it doesn't take over. Okay, the picture is not very good, but I put it on because it shows that a desalination plant is not a small plant. It has to be by the sea. You need a pumping station. There is pipelines, and at the bottom of the sea there's a pipeline to the main desalination plant, and then the distribution pipes. So with desalination, we abstract seawater from up to a kilometer from the shore. Salts are removed, but also the boron content is important to make sure that it is reduced to the satisfactory levels for health reasons. Then you return back to the sea brine and impurities, and there comes a negative environmental impact that a lot of people worry. Again, it might be a psychological worry because the price of property in Cyprus by the seashore is very high, so nobody wants to be associated with a rejection of any brine in the coast in front of their summer houses. And of course, desalination comes with a very high financial and energy penalty, and now the European Union is making that even more painful with all the penalties that any country has to pay if it exceeds its energy targets. So it's important to make sure that we have sustainable water management before we move with 100% desalination. This table shows the many desalination plants we have in Cyprus. Maybe one in every town, more or less, giving us, as I said, nearly 100%, aiming at giving us 100% of our drinking water. And the last column shows the cost of producing this water, which, as you see, it's very, very expensive. When it comes to energy consumption, just an indication that to produce 1 cubic meter of desalinated water, we need 4.5 kilowatt hours, and an average house consumes 15 kilowatt hours in a day, and that shows just what a high energy consuming effort is to desalinate water. A few words about harvesting rainwater, which is just starting in Cyprus. It's done on a small scale at the moment. Architects and civil engineers are encouraged to add a cistern in their yards to collect rainwater from the roof and the paved yard to use it for irrigation in their property. It's not going to solve big problems, but like recycling, when you practice recycling at home, even at a small scale, then you feel that you are really contributing something positive to the world. And I believe that even this small scale of every family knowing that they have this quantity of water to use rather than just use any water that comes out of the hose makes a huge of a difference, because then they come to realize that they can irrigate so much or this kind of flowers or fruit in their yard rather than anything that comes to their mind, especially grass in Cyprus, which is a semi-arid area. Just a few pictures from an old village where cisterns were there from generations in the past. The water comes down from the drain. I think it's obvious, the drain there, and the pipe takes it down and under the paved yard. The whole yard here is a huge cistern. It's as large as the yard itself. Also now public buildings like schools are encouraged to build collecting cisterns underneath the yard. This is a school with rooftops going down under the paved yard to irrigate the trees, and I think it's a very good example for the young generation to come to realize that water is a limited source, like many other sources in Cyprus and everywhere. So water projects do not always have to be big and of a national scale. Any alternative source of water, however small and humble, can contribute to a greener and friendlier surrounding and, at the end of the day, a better quality of life. Thank you very much.